welcome. We are here. Special episode. Sister C couldn't be here today, but shout out to Sister C.
Shout out to
So
Sister
I had to hold it down solo.
Indeed.
And I'm excited because I got my boy who made the trek out here to sit with me, have a great conversation today. Right. I'm excited about this one, man. We've been trying to make it happen for a little bit.
For a minute.
You know what I'm
saying?
For
a few months now.
But now we are here. Now we're here.
Exactly.
Mr. Brandon Shelby, man. Welcome to the podcast, bro.
Man, thank you.
Welcome to the podcast.
Shout out to Sister C too. This is a beautiful space what you guys have created.
Oh man, District 23, man. She's doing big things over here, bro.
Yeah, we're gonna put the District 23 on the map.
Yes.
And do some major things here.
Love to hear that.
That's awesome.
All right, so we always like to start off with background for our guests. So if you don't mind just sharing like where you're from, where you grew up, your work history, what brought you here right now? What got you here?
Yeah. Well, Adam, thank you, man. First and foremost, my name is Brandon Shelby. For those who don't know, I'm a kid from Orange County, born and raised. I initially grew up in Santa Ana, East Anaheim.
Okay.
And then my family landed in North Placentia. My mom and my dad, I'm my only child. Born and raised in church, literally at Friendship Baptist Church in Yorba Linda.
Yes, sir. Shout out
17145 Bassin Cherry Road. You know what I mean? And from my upbringing, it has always been a loving atmosphere, a place where I could feel wanted and feel empowered to be myself, not only as a young man, but specifically a young black man.
Oh, man, love that.
That was a core in my household with Lorna Shelby and James Shelby. And my mom being an educator for 35 plus years, and even my dad, education was always critical.
Yeah.
Key. So we'll get into the book itself, but that really planted the seed, those seeds of being an effective writer, being a person who reads a lot, being an individual who seeks to understand, not to seek to judge, is critical, a critical part of my upbringing, and more specifically, what has led me to a lot of the success that I've had today.
Nice.
Professionally, my background has been in talent acquisition and recruiting for a little over 17 years.
Okay.
I currently work at Bank of America. That's who pays my bills right now. In terms of 9-to-5 work, and they're excellent.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, they also created a space where I could come to them and say, hey, I have a great idea to write a book.
Nice.
And create an organization as a result of that, and they fully supported it. So,
I love to hear that.
A lot of what is pretty much critical to my success has been the support of loved ones, my family, of course, other professionals in this space, specifically my wife, my kids, you know what I mean, my two daughters, who we live in Fontana currently, but a lot of the success that we've had as a result, or I've had, as a result of what's brought me to this point has been that foundation of family.
Nice.
That foundation of understanding, my worth as a professional, but more importantly, as a personal individual.
Love it.
So, you talk about my background, being a kid from Orange County, it's an amalgam of other areas.
Yeah.
Right? If you talk to those kids who grew up in Orange County, they got parents that was from LA.
Yeah.
Or from San Diego, which that's my case. My mom is from Compton. My dad's from Southeast San Diego.
Gotcha.
And a lot of that upbringing, and my wife jokes about it all the time because she's like, who are you? Like, she kind of looks at me like, you got the flip flops and the cargo pants, but you got a little side to you that's not quite so corporate. You know what I mean, if I could say that. Yeah. So, and I'm appreciative of that because my makeup of even peers and friends, just a wide range of folks that I love, that I'm loyal to, that have helped me be the man that I am, and I think you need that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yourself, right? Yeah. Like the great thing about us, Adam, is that even though we've been apart for some time and may not talk all the time, we just pick up while we left off.
It's like riding a bike. It's like riding a bike. That's why I love when I ran into you. I was like, oh man, I gotta get you on. Just we kind of caught up and you share some things. I'm like, and then the book, I'm like, oh, you gotta come on and just sit down so we could like chop it up.
Right.
I love that. So you said how many years now in talent acquisition?
So 17 years in talent acquisition.
Now, for those that don't know, that is under the HR umbrella technically?
It is.
Okay.
It is. It's under HR umbrella. It's specifically recruiting. It's just a fancy
were you an HR major in school? Or?
Yeah, actually.
Oh, you were? Okay.
I went to Cal Poly Pomona, where I got my degree in 2005.
Okay.
With the emphasis in HR and a minor in entrepreneurship.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And that really, Cal Poly is a great example of a school that really fosters what you can do and where you want to go to.
Okay.
Right. And my initial start in education was going to Southern University in Louisiana.
Oh, wow. Okay. HBCU. Yeah.
Yep. And spent 2 years there. Had a great time. Went out there on an academic scholarship.
Nice.
And quickly learned that freedom was something I had to pay for, right? So it was like
1,000% have to be responsible,
literally, man.
You know what was my wake up call in college is when I found out like they didn't take roll,
right.
Which sounds crazy,
right.
But I was like, wait a minute, nobody take roll? Like,
right.
The teacher not looking for you. If you don't come, you just don't come.
You just don't come.
I was like, oh, so I don't have to. That messed me up, bro. That messed me up freshman year,
bro. Yeah, it did. Yeah. My roommate to this day is a really good friend of mine, a brother of mine, Ricky Simeon, and I had an 8 o'clock class on a Monday. After that first week or two, consistently missed that class.
Yeah.
She's like, bro, you know you got to go to class. You know you got to get up.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, for real? It's
somebody told me it was optional.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So that experience, man, first of all, HBCUs, even if you don't go full time, which I didn't, unfortunately, I had to come back home and get serious about my education because I lost my scholarship.
Yeah.
Grades slipped.
Yeah.
So I was doing way too much partying.
Yes, sir.
And functioning, right?
Yes, sir.
Going to everybody's homecoming.
Yes, sir.
At that time. But what the HBCU environment does instill in you is that additional self-worth. I had, coming from Orange County, of course, I was around a lot of Black people.
Yeah.
And then going to LA and going to other places locally, I was around a lot of us.
Yeah. But
never us at the scale of going to HBCU.
Right, which is
and the
different.
Diversity of us.
And you're in college, so it's turned up.
Right. It's turned up. And the educational piece, like you got people walking around in lab coats and suitcases, and these are young people pursuing their dreams and aspirations from a career standpoint early on.
Yeah. That
level of empowerment and Black power and Black excellence, I realize it now, but I don't think I fully accepted or understood that at that time.
Yeah.
Like it was more so, this is what I'm doing.
Gotcha.
And if I could impart anybody that's looking to go to college or looking to further their education, it's, go somewhere where they match your values.
Oh, I like that.
And they match who you are as an individual. Somewhere where you can feel like you can grow. And Southern University, shameless plug, is definitely a place where that was that for me. Nice. I didn't finish there, but I still rep Southern. I still rep Cal Poly Pomona.
Nice.
But getting back to your question.
Yeah.
17 years in talent acquisition and recruiting, have literally recruited everything under the sun when it comes to profession.
Yeah.
Executive level as well as entry level positions.
Gotcha.
Still do what I love.
Yeah.
Which is help people get to their next opportunity.
I like that.
And that is a core reason for even this book being.
So let's get into it.
Mm-hmm.
So corporate free agency, the 7 principles, how do you say it?
Toward career
ownership.
Yeah.
Not entrepreneurship, ownership.
Yeah.
I got to remember that.
Yeah.
Okay. So your 17 years experience in this corporate world, how all of a sudden you decide I need to write this book, or now's the time for me to take my experience and my knowledge and put it into this book? Like, why did you think it was now the time to do this, and what led you to put this book out?
Yeah. Well, I think, thanks for that question. God really put that on my heart about 5 years ago.
Okay.
To write the book itself.
Okay.
And he just gave me the title.
Oh, nice.
Corporate Free Agency, 7 Principles of Career Ownership. I was like, okay, cool. Now what?
Yeah.
Right? And it wasn't until, and I literally shelved it, but I had it in my journal as this is something I'm going to write.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until a good friend of mine, mentor of sorts, as well as just a good brother, fraternity brother, Dr. Charles Dorsey, had initiated a ebook challenge. Write an ebook in 10 days.
Okay.
And he gave you the blueprint, the tools, the resources, which were all incredible. And that really got me putting pen to paper back in September of 2021 to actually write my book.
So this is still kind of post-pandemic, right?
Post-pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Post-pandemic. But I always had the umption or the idea prior to the pandemic.
Okay.
Right. And so that really forced me to one, create the outline, which were the 7 chapters, and I don't know them offhand verbatim right now. I could regurgitate to you, but at the same time, I had the outline, and then I wrote the meat and potatoes in terms of the actual details of the book.
So are you telling me you put this together in 10 days?
I did the framework.
Oh,
in 10
okay.
days.
10 days. Okay.
It took me.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, no, no, you can do it.
Yeah.
You absolutely can do it. I did. It took me, I want to say about 2.5 months to write it, start to finish.
Okay.
From the introduction to conclusion.
Gotcha.
And it was something that was very challenging.
Yeah.
I know it's only 54 pages.
Yeah.
It's 3,000 words.
Yeah.
But what it took for me to get to that point was a lot.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And it took me being vulnerable in areas that I didn't anticipate, which I'm grateful for, because I hope to show that transparency through my book, and more specifically that you don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
To have it all figured out. I love what you and Sister C are doing here with your podcast, because you don't have it all figured out.
No.
But you're moving forward.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's what people need to understand. You don't need to have all the answers.
Yeah.
Nor do you need to have all the money, for that matter, to put things together. But if you have the desire, the will, and the purpose, something down inside of you to make it happen, make it happen.
Yeah.
Just do what you need to do.
Okay. So corporate free agency, right? We're sports guys.
Yeah.
I know free agency as somebody's a free agent.
Right.
They get to pick and choose their next move, where they want to go, what's the best fit for them. And then a lot of things obviously have to be considered when you're doing that. Your title kind of a play on sports or no?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
It's definitely a play on sports. I didn't have so much tone of sports talk in the book so much. You'll kind of see that as a reader does go through it.
Yeah.
But more specifically, I wanted to set the tone of, you are a free agent. You need to think of yourself as an individual. Yes, and you may work for an organization. You may get your check cut, whether it's every 2 weeks or twice a month, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But you are bringing value to them just as much as they're adding value to you.
Oh, I love that.
Right.
Let me make an observation here. I think it's interesting is that I respect this generation because I feel they see that.
For sure.
Where like maybe our generation didn't. Definitely not our parents' generation. Our parents' generation, I think they valued, or they thought it kind of was like a badge of honor to stay with one company for like 30, 40 years. Where the current generation, they might hear that and cringe.
Right.
But I see the older generation cringing at this new generation because they're quick to leave and like switch a job. Like, hey, I'm out of here.
Right.
This is interesting to me because like I don't see myself as a free agent when you say that, because it's very easy to get comfortable getting that direct deposit every 2 weeks, right? It's like, yo, I'm not trying to look to move. Like I'm in a good I'm in a good space right now. But that can also, some people might see that as complacency.
Yeah.
In your situation, you're saying, okay, you have this career, things are going good, you're like where you're at. The free agency piece, is it like I should always be looking for the next opportunity? Is that what you're kind of conveying, or no?
Well, it could be that.
Okay.
But more specifically, it should be you're preparing yourself for the next opportunity.
Gotcha.
You're preparing your hard skills.
Yeah.
Right? Which are, if you're, depending on the field that you're in, you're perfecting your craft.
Okay.
You're understanding the ins and outs of your position.
Yeah.
So you can be the very best that you can be in that role. The second piece is that you're also building your brand. Right? Networking is essential.
Yeah.
In this work environment, in this corporate America that we live in. And so regardless of, I don't even go over the gens, right?
Yeah.
Gen Z, Gen Millennials, whatever the case is. But I think to your point that you mentioned earlier, this generation has figured it out that I am responsible for my success. And I need to do what I need to do in order to put myself in a position to be successful.
For sure.
Whether that's with your organization during this term and agreement that we have, or with another organization. Let's find a common ground where we can both win. Gotcha. And I think that is something that our generation is coming up to speed on, with social media, with other pods out there and other influencers that we tend to follow and understand, okay, we didn't have to do it this linear way that we were taught because our parents did it that way.
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with what they did.
No.
Right?
But things evolve.
Things evolve, and we're not pigeonholed to having to do things a certain way consistently all the time.
Yeah.
I think this environment, especially after the pandemic, I mean, I think if you state the numbers, over 14 million people shifted careers within a year's time frame.
Oh yeah.
And that's incredible because they saw an influx of all these companies coming out of the pandemic, hiring like crazy because they needed people to work.
Yeah.
Right. So if you, that in and of itself lets you know, especially even in my space in talent acquisition, I was turning down jobs left and right because they needed people to help recruit the people to fill their positions.
Oh, wow.
So it was a time that I don't think we'll see again duplicated in that fashion. And I think it's important for each of us to always stay ready and be in a position to be more marketable.
Gotcha.
For our current organization. And I even talk about it in the book where I asked, have you done all that you can in your current position?
So I like that. So let's talk about these 7 principles then. Like, how'd you come up with those? And then what are those for the people so they can understand? Like, I have this kind of, like you said, framework, use your word, where you should be looking to develop off this framework, right? Hit these principles, and then when that next opportunity comes, or you even create an opportunity for yourself.
Yeah. So, I mean, chapter 1 is why are you looking to make a move? Chapter 2, what makes you special? Chapter 3, are you in alignment? Which is my favorite chapter. Chapter 4, be intentional. Chapter 5, know your worth. And then chapter 6, keep the bridges intact. And chapter 7, work harder.
Okay.
I would say the framework or the reason why I outlined those chapters was because I looked at my own career. Right. As a testimony. Even where I'm at now, I'm in a position where I do not want to leave B of A. They have carried me through a very tumultuous time that I didn't foresee coming.
For sure.
Right. Benefits as well as just the support of my managers and teams and other leaders throughout the organization that fought for me to be there.
Nice.
Even before I got sick. And then after the fact, I didn't miss a beat. Right. With respect to coming back and being ingratiated back into the organization and to work for that matter. And so that's something in and of itself. And this is not a shameless plug. But it is. For B of A. You know what I mean? They're really an organization that does there's a saying that we have in that organization is talking about, bringing your whole self to work. And they really do allow an opportunity and afford an opportunity for people to do that. Are we perfect? No. By any stretch of the means. But at the same time, I would say that the chapter that really resonates with me would have to be that chapter on, are you in alignment? Because what I find is people leave organizations because of, bad managers or maybe it's a bad situation from a cultural standpoint. They rarely, even when they're underpaid, people rarely leave because they're underpaid. People will leave because they're not treated fairly. People will leave because they don't feel seen or wanted.
So then how does alignment apply to those situations?
So alignment applies where have I, and on the flip side, on a positive note, have I done all that I can in my current position to maximize all the opportunities that exist here? Right? You're in logistics or
production.
Production. Okay. So in production, you have a very strict way of doing things. Right. And you have processes and procedures that are not only needed, but they're also probably a big part of making sure that you're safe on the job, right? And in the same sense, in organizations like where I work, it's not necessarily that we're dealing with life and death. But there's a lot of things that go on that are making impact for the greater good, greater good within the organization, greater good outside of it. And so when you're talking about being in alignment, when I came back to B of A, I left for a short stint in, let's say 2020. For about 4 months, went to an organization where I tried my hand at leadership and management. Great company that I went to go work for. However, it just wasn't the right fit from a cultural standpoint. And cultural, I mean, it just wasn't right for me at that time. Growing family, had a lot of responsibilities at home that I just couldn't take on more responsibility going to another organization.
So it wasn't in your alignment.
See how I picked up on that? That's what I'm saying. So, but hindsight 2020, I'm glad I left to gain that experience, to try my hand to see, okay, this is for me down the road, but just not now.
Yeah.
And my alignment should have been where I was. Yes, it's going to take me longer to where I want to get financially, because, you know, typically when you leave organizations, that's when you get paid more, because you're going to another organization that has seen your value from the outside looking in.
Yeah.
Versus when you're working for an organization, they want to retain you and keep you, but they're also doing what's in the best interest of their organization to retain you from a compensation standpoint.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right,
so let me ask you this, not to cut you off.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I don't want to put out the wrong idea about this book. So
Sure.
I feel like it's somewhat about pivoting.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
But you're saying you could also pivot within your company as
Absolutely.
well.
Yeah.
So it's not like you need to just go seek employment elsewhere.
Correct.
Yeah.
No,
from what you said right there.
Correct.
So it's like, I'm doing all these things.
Yep.
I've now added value to this company. I've built up value in myself.
Right.
If they're not valuing me, I can go elsewhere.
Right.
But there's also look for opportunities if I want to stay.
Look for opportunities within.
Yeah.
If you're an individual that's just clocking in, going to work, and, you know, going home at the end of the day, and you're not building any relationships or rapport, have you really done all that you can in that position? Have you joined if they have it, have you joined an employee network or got involved in volunteer activities, joined a Toastmasters? Have you done everything that you can to leverage relationships that you can foster potential opportunities that will lead to promotions?
Oh man, that's it.
And most
solid advice.
Most people probably aren't doing that.
I mean, I think maybe I'm guilty of that too, because I go to work and go home. Like I've definitely built relationships there because of the amount of time that I've been there. But when you talk about finding other opportunities within the company, I think that 100% comes from relationships, but also too, like your work should speak for itself.
Correct.
When you talk about work harder or some of the other chapters, it's like people should be able to. You shouldn't have to sell anybody on your value. They should know.
Right.
Yeah.
They should know, you know, Adam, he works hard. He's efficient. He's a leader in his own right. And he could be counted on to do what he needs to do by way of your work. Yeah.
So let me ask you this for the individual listening right now. If they're saying, okay, I'm going to go test the market. Now I consider myself a free agent.
Yeah.
How do you do that and you know that you're going to get what you're worth?
Yeah.
Like, how do you approach the boss? Like, have you ever had those conversations where it's time for you to approach the boss and you're like, hey, I'm looking to advance or I want a pay raise? That's the hard conversation, right? It's always the salary.
It's
like, hey, I've been at this level. I've been at this level for a while now. I need to, if you guys don't bump me up, I'm gonna need to maybe look elsewhere. Is that a fair conversation you should be having with a manager or a supervisor or?
It's all on how you frame it.
Okay.
It's definitely a valid conversation to have and I wouldn't be afraid to have it, but you better have the data and your P's and Q's kind of buttoned up prior to having that conversation.
Oh, okay.
Because now if you're asking them for more money, or you're asking them for a promotion, what are they getting in return? Like if you're saying, just judge me, that's what, and I love the correlation of free agent because we see it in athletics all the time.
Well,
football, basketball, baseball,
anything.
But specifically, my heart is in football, right? And even in basketball.
Yeah.
Those players know their worth.
They hold out. We see it every, like football season just started. We saw Brandon Ayuk.
Yep.
Like he's like, I need this dollar amount or I'm not playing.
Right. And
but we can't do that in the corporate world.
Well, you can and
how would that translate? How does that translate to corporate?
The way it looks is you have to be, like I mentioned, you have to have enough cachet or experience, and more importantly, sponsors and people vouching for you.
Oh, gotcha.
To say, you know what, it's not just me going to the table and saying this. It's other folks that have seen my value and what I've done in and outside of my job or scope to bring value to this organization. It's not just about, like I just got tapped for an emerging leaders program.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I didn't sign up for.
Yeah.
Right. But other leaders saw what I was doing within my employee network organization and our chapter and we're like, hey, we think you'd be great for this program.
Oh, nice.
Right. And it's something that you want to call it a special group. I guess you can call it that, but more specifically, it's individuals who are doing more outside of their primary job or scope. And to be honest, those men and women who are able to hold out in the sports world, it's because they've shown themselves, they went above and beyond in their current positions and on that current contract to set themselves apart. So don't be afraid to ask, but also be prepared for that organization to hold you accountable to what you're asking for.
Oh, for sure.
So if we're going to give you this, we want results.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't want no excuses.
Right? In your experience, do you suggest like, okay, I'm having this conversation with my boss or supervisor, manager, and they flat out tell you no, because that happens.
You're correct.
Do you then share with them that I'm going to look for other opportunities outside the company?
No.
Or would you suggest not telling people that?
I wouldn't. You don't even need to go there.
Oh, okay.
You should have your plan of action and your direction in terms of where you want to take things at heart and kind of written down in terms of your own personal business plan, where you kind of see yourself. If they say no, that doesn't mean no holistically. It just mean no right now. There's a lot of things that go into, budgets and head count for each organization. And yes, we can see things from our point of view, but seeing things from a leadership perspective, what they have to govern and preside over, as well as lead a group of people through from a financial standpoint and keep everything whole. I mean, we just look at some of the organizations that you and I grew up knowing as kids, or even as young adults that are no longer in existence right now.
Everything's closed down, right?
Yeah. Case in point, the 99-cent store, right?
Yeah.
Like but somebody had to make the decision. Like we can't afford to continue like that. We're operating at a loss.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of times, organizations, big or small, operate at a loss until they can become profitable.
Okay.
And so you as an individual, what you can control is how you show up every day.
Yeah.
How you impart knowledge and expertise to your team and the people around you, as well as your customers and clients. And then more specifically, just being somebody that people want to be around.
Oh, I like that.
And enjoy working with. You know what I mean?
1000% that matters.
It matters.
Okay, so we're going to keep going along with this story.
Yeah.
I've talked to my boss.
Yeah.
My plan has now basically failed, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to this and I'm encouraged and I'm optimistic and I'm thinking, okay, I'm leaving this meeting right now with either a raise or potential promotion.
Right.
He now has told me, or he or she has told me that's not happening. So your plans failed. What do you do in that moment? Like, how do you pivot? Like when you're reading this book, it's like, okay, if this didn't work out the way I thought it was going to be, and I love what you said about maybe it's not just the right time right now.
Right.
And also too, I wanted to mention the mentor-mentee thing, because like you're kind of making this decision as an individual, but do you recommend that people have mentors and mentees maybe inside their company and outside?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have mentors inside my organization. I have mentors outside.
So you have somebody maybe to go to before you decide to make this big move in your life, career.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
And more specifically, if I was the person, which I've been told, not right now, I take it as constructive criticism.
Do you really?
I take it as...
You weren't devastated?
I was not devastated, because...
Were you asking for money or promotion?
Well, I was asking more so, not for the... I was asking for more money.
Okay.
In this particular instance, and they gave me the reason why, and were very candid. I wasn't getting that bump in pay or merit increase.
Yeah. And
I took that. I was like, okay.
Did you take it personal?
No, I didn't take it personal.
Oh, okay.
Because I understood where they were coming from.
Okay.
I'm a individual, and this is just how I approach life and things. I'm a glass half full individual.
Yeah.
I look at the full picture. Being an only child, I think there is some blessing to that, because you had to think a lot to yourself without having to go to somebody else to bounce off different ideas. So what I mean by that is I have to look at the full picture.
Yeah.
Right. And understand, why my set manager made that decision, and it wasn't theirs to make, for that matter. Yeah. To be honest with you, it was the powers that be, or the powers that be, to actually sign and write the checks for those who are downstream.
Yeah.
It's it's individuals like myself that you can do one or two things. You can get discouraged.
Yeah.
Because you didn't get what you wanted.
Right.
Right. Or you can take that and say, and which I did, I took it, okay, well, it's not right now. And eventually I got my merit and bonus or whatever the case is down the road. It just wasn't at that moment. But it's okay to let your intentions be made known.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. The word or the Bible talks about commit your plans to the world and your ways will be established.
Yeah.
Right. And I liken that to what we should do and how we should approach our professional careers. Because if we don't write that vision and make it plain, nothing's going to happen.
So people, I think the natural reaction is probably the spiral after that, right?
Yeah, to be upset.
F this company, I'm out. You know what I mean? You start looking for other things, but you're saying don't do that.
Don't do it.
Take that construction criticism, sit with it.
Yeah.
So for me, I think at that point, that's when I would the mentor mentee conversation comes like, okay, now let me go to my mentor and say, hey, I've had this experience where I feel like I'm worth this. They're telling me no.
Right.
How do you manage mentor mentee relationships? Like, and what do you think is the value in that?
Yeah. Well, it's definitely driven by the mentee.
Okay.
Right. So if you have or if you're seeking mentorship, it is my job as a mentee to go schedule the appointments to meet with that mentor. Yeah. It's my job to come to the table in terms of what my goals, aspirations, my triumphs, as well as my weaknesses, bring that to the table for us to dialogue and talk about. It's not for the mentor to solve your problem necessarily, but it's almost like a therapist. Yeah. A therapist is somebody who bounces those ideas off of you that you're thinking about and gives you context and helps you devise a plan on how you're going to approach certain issues. And specifically what you're talking about, Adam, is something that is critical to every professional in every space, whether they're an executive or entry-level intern, right? For that matter. You should seek mentorship to understand that there's people that know more than you do.
Yeah, 1,000%. Yeah.
And what you find in that mentee-mentor relationship, and what I found is where my blind spots are, those mentors have helped me acknowledge where I fell short.
Oh, nice.
And where I've made mistakes and where I can improve in down the road. And that's something that it's a lot of humility in this game, man. Like it's in not only in corporate America, but just in life in general. Like just when you think you figured it out.
So you don't suggest making these decisions alone, though.
I mean, some stuff you gotta go with your gut. Yeah, and you have to move forward. Yeah, you're not going to have the opportunity to bounce ideas off of other people. Yeah, but in most cases, before you've made that decision, if you have a question about it, it wouldn't hurt just pick up the phone and reach out to your mentor or say a trusted friend who you feel is somebody who gives sound and wise advice that you can lean on and say, hey, what do you think about this situation?
I like that. I feel like life is about risk. Especially as you get older, we start to have all these experiences. You understand the importance of taking calculated risks. Yeah. Right. Even some non-calculated risks sometimes. It's like, hey, this is risky, but I'm gonna do it just because of the reward and the payoff. Right. Is this like a risk-taking book? Is it like that, or is yours more like carve out a plan? Like have a destination in mind and then map that out, figure out a way to get there. Have you taken risk in your career?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've taken particularly 2 instances where I took risk and I failed. Right. And I ended up getting fired from one job and then ended up getting laid off from another. Okay. And I took it. That's where I should have yielded on, hey, what do you think about this? I should have asked. Yeah. Should have asked my wife, right? Yeah. Or I should have asked a mentor at that time, hey, I got this job opportunity. It sounds great. This is what they're requiring or asking of me. What do you think about that? Yeah. Yeah. And I may have been able to avoid the pitfall. But on the flip side of that, had I not gotten let go from that set organization or fired 2 weeks before my wedding, mind you.
Oh my goodness.
2 weeks before my wedding, and she still married me.
Did you tell her? Did you tell her the 2 weeks before the wedding? You did?
Yeah,
like,
I
hey,
did.
just so you know, before we do this, like, I'm unemployed. I don't know if you still want to go through with this.
Unemployed. Yeah. I need a job. I'm Craig over here. You know what I'm saying? Got fired on my day off. But anyway, but yeah, I literally let her know 2 weeks before my wedding, and she was like, okay, well, that's not stopping anything on this train.
I think I would have held that one. Shout out to Audrey.
Shout out to Audrey. Yeah. Shout out to Audrey Shelby, man. She's my rock for sure. But no, she took it like a chance. She's like, well, I got me. Yeah. You already, I know you're not a lazy individual. Right. Right. Or a person who's not going to go out and get it and make stuff happen. Moreover, you already got stuff in place. Whether it be unemployment or rental property where you got money coming in. So we're going to be fine. Yeah. And we were. Yeah. Right. Well, we ended up I moved into her home in Inglewood, and that was already the plan. Yeah. But moved into her home in Inglewood because one, there was parking. Yeah. And then two, one, it was just a better situation because of where I needed to be in terms of work and where she was. Yeah. It just made sense. Yeah. And so, but I didn't necessarily consult her on, what do you think about me taking this job? Yeah. Oh, gotcha. Right, with this organization. And using the free agent analogy, that's where like they're having conversations with their agent or business managers, right? Yeah. Thank you. I was just about to say that. Yeah. Those athletes do not come without a team. Right. Right. You may see them on the court doing their thing or on the field doing their thing individually. But the team that supports them, they're not doing that isolated. Right. They have a whole team they have financial advisors. They have attorneys. Yeah. They have CPAs. Right. They have agents who are advising them on how they should conduct their business day in and day out. Yeah. So why do you think, as an individual producer and performer on your job at XYZ Corporation, that you don't need a team supporting you? Correct. We don't do that. Yeah. As an everyday worker, we don't surround ourselves normally with people that we can feed off of and maybe help us get to that next level, but more importantly, just help us navigate some of the minutia that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. And so that's where it was, I take all of it with pride now because I know the outcome of where I ended up and what got me to this place and where I'm at now, the experiences, which I wouldn't take anything back. But hindsight 2020, if I had to go back, and do things differently, I would have asked more poignant questions. Gotcha. So it's critical that your team that you have in place is one that's going to hold you accountable and tell you stuff that you may not want to hear. Yeah. Utility of this book, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like this is a book that somebody maybe want to keep on their person or in their desk at work because you can come back to it. For sure. When somebody picks up this book, what are you hoping they get from this? Yeah. Or how do they utilize it? How do they actually apply it? Yeah. I hope, and my prayer has been and will continue to be, that this book empowers individuals to take that next step towards where they want to be from a career standpoint. It does not provide you with the absolute blueprint of what to do and how to do it. That's not this book. What this does is this book should spark you to ask questions about where you're at. Yeah. And if you don't have a plan in place or a written vision or a mission statement in terms of what you want to do within the next 6 months, right? We're Adam, it's crazy that we're talking right now. We're approaching, it's Q4 right now. Yeah. In the calendar year of 2024. Like, where did the time go? But people got to look back at, like, what did you do with this year? Right? What did you accomplish? And I hope that this book helps people map out and start at the beginning of the year, even now. Okay, what am I going to do with the remaining time that I have in this year? Yeah. And if I have these specific goals, what steps am I putting into place to get to those goals? Yeah. And help reach and exceed it. And this is absolutely something you can go back to. Yeah, for sure. And there's even an excerpt in the book going back to being in alignment where I talk about my daughter, right? Oh, yeah. And the fantasy football chapter. Yeah. And it's crazy because I got my teams right now, right? And I love that. Fantasy football chapter. And literally, Olivia was like, we're playing in the backyard. And I don't want to spoil it for the readers who haven't read it, but there was a point where she really gave me a gut check.
Yeah.
I'm still mindful of it now.
Right.
Because, our phones are our lives at this point.
Right.
We put so much weight on being on the phone and looking up stuff
attached to that device. It's an appendage now.
Yeah, it is. Whether it's crap that we're looking at or it's actually something resourceful.
Right.
But being present where you are.
Yeah.
Being present with the people that you love and care about and have affinity towards is something that's critical.
Yeah.
And my life experience to this point has really shaped and molded that to where a lot of stuff is not important if it's not spirit of God led, if it's not involving good people like yourselves.
No, I appreciate you, man. Thank
you. Really making life memories.
Yeah.
And more specifically surrounding yourself with folks that push you to be better.
For sure.
And that's what I hope people gain out of this book. Like, yes, ignite and spark the vision and where you want to go, but more specifically redirect and have you take a retrospective look of where you've come from
and like
where you're trying to go.
Yeah. One of the things that really stuck out for me as I read the book was the brand manager piece. Yeah. I love that because when you work for a company, you're helping them to build their brand, but you yourself are a brand within the organization. And so I loved how it's like, you need to be constantly developing that because of what you said. It's like, if I'm now having to have a conversation about advancement or other opportunities, people basically are evaluating your brand.
Right.
Like what has been Brandon's strength?
Right.
What has he brought to the company?
Right.
How valuable is he? Right. That's all about your brand and what you've done to like pour into that brand and what you've built. Man, it was great.
Yeah.
What I like too is like, I think a lot of these principles are transferable into your personal life as well. Right. Like, you could take these and apply them to your personal life when you're looking, I mean, if it's relationships or friendships that you're having to manage. One thing I did want to speak about, and I was happy that you were open to sharing, is that while all these things is happening, you actually had some trauma in your life.
Yeah.
Is it okay to call it trauma?
Absolutely.
Man, the C word, that is so
traumatic.
Scary for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, you had a cancer diagnosis.
Yes. Yeah, man. And so stage 3 colon cancer. I was diagnosed July of 2023 of last year. And I had been having issues for about a year. Year's time frame from 2022. So pretty much the time that we moved into our new home until present. And I was having issues where I couldn't keep food down and was in pain and having some other stuff that was going on that had me going to seek the doctor, right, and seek help. And I kept going back to that specific primary doctor, explaining to him my symptoms, and I'm losing weight consistently, but they really couldn't dial in on what it was, right. And so my wife recommended, hey, we should go get a second opinion, like at USC Keck. And so I made an appointment to see their specialist in their research hospital that specializes in cancer research and things of that nature. So I went to a GI specialist and did a virtual teledoc appointment. That person had all of my medical history and were like, yeah, we definitely want to get you in for a colonoscopy and an EGD as soon as possible.
Wow.
And I didn't make it to that colonoscopy or EGD because that same week, which was the 20th of July, I was supposed to go to a general convention. I'm an alpha. Right, so to go to
you got to explain that for people. They're gonna be like, "Oh, he's an alpha male." Like, that.
Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
Shout out the frat.
Shout out the frat. Exactly. So, I was supposed to go to our convention that following week in Dallas, Texas, and so ended up I couldn't make it to that. I got I went to the doctor that Thursday because I was in such pain that day before.
Yeah,
got hospitalized on that the 20th, and I'm thinking they're just gonna. When I first went in, I thought I'm going to the urgent care, that being at USC, and I'm thinking they're just going to give me some medicine like I've done before at the previous healthcare provider and send me home on my way. Well, no, I get there, they run blood work, they do a CT scan. Like, well, good news is we have a good understanding of what you're suffering from. Bad news is you're not going home. You're probably going to be having surgery either over the weekend or as early as Monday or Tuesday of next week. And that's exactly what happened. So started on this healing journey, Adam, of, no food for 11 days, was hospitalized away from my family. And you talk about traumatic. It was absolutely that, because, my in households, everybody got their roles, responsibilities, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
My wife and I, we've done a pretty good job over these past 10 years of balancing each other out. But now it's completely shifted where all the stuff is on her.
Oh, wow.
To take care of us. She was a champ in terms of stepping in and doing what she needed to do. But
can I say this?
Yeah.
Caretaking,
man,
bro, listen. It's not everybody's built for that.
No.
Not at all. No. It's one of those things where you don't expect to have to become that. And then all of a sudden you're put into this role.
Right.
What I love is it reveals so much character about a person.
It does.
In your situation, it lets you know I chose the right one.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. And it's something that you can't put a price tag on that. You know what I mean?
Invaluable.
And invaluable. And you really got to have people that are around you that just will love on you for your dirty draws, because literally that's what she was doing. So, but nonetheless, my cancer diagnosis led to hospitalization, being released, and then starting this path of chemotherapy for 7 months, 12 rounds. I still got this port in me right now as a precaution. I'm cancer free, thank God.
Congratulations, bro.
And no signs or symptoms, and that's going to continue.
Yeah.
In Jesus' name. But at the same time, I'm like, you always have, because of my type of cancer, it was colon cancer. I'm always mindful of, what I eat and where I expose myself to certain things, because it's just, you can't take life for granted. Now, I went into the situation knowing that I was going to be healed.
Yeah.
Like the week prior to me being hospitalized, I was literally in my closet praying, and I'm doubled over, and I'm like, well, God, I know you're going to heal me, but what am I supposed to get out of this? There's got to be something more to this than me just getting sick and then getting healed.
Yeah.
And he said, as clearly as I'm talking to you, Adam, dignity and long suffering. And I was like, okay, good. I'm good with the dignity piece, but what you mean by this long suffering part? Like, how long is this suffering piece going to be? And I'm still going through it right now. And he said that he just repeated it again. And then I got up from, my prayer, and then continued on my day. And that is something that with my cancer diagnosis, even being hospitalized, I was never worried unto death, like this is my time, I'm going to be transitioning. That wasn't the case. Yeah. My concern was more so for my family. Yeah. My concern was more so for my parents and my wife, my kids, my other loved ones and friends that, there's you just realize there's so much you still wanted to do. Yeah. It's unfinished. And on the flip side of this now, especially with this book and the other things that I aspire to do, not only professionally, but even personally, don't wait. If I can encourage anybody, don't wait on, I'll wait and see if I got some more opportunities down the road, or this isn't the right time. It's never going to be the right time. Oh, wow. It's like being, and nothing against anybody that doesn't want to get married. I'm completely okay with that. Yeah. Do your thing. Yeah. But if you have a desire to get married, go ahead and get married. Like, don't wait. Do it. Get married to the person, and make sure they're the right person. Right. Well,
that's super important. That's important. A bar. That's a bar. Again, make sure it's the right person. Don't
it's the right person. But also, if you waiting on money to come in, or you're waiting on other things to be put into place before you pull that trigger, don't wait on life, because life will pass you by. Yeah. And life will happen too that you don't expect. And you want to be in the best position possible to take full advantage of what life has to offer.
The team aspect that we talked about in the book, and now you're talking about life. I have my parents, my wife, all these other people how important is team with that? When you get that cancer diagnosis, you're going through, it's something you're having to deal with individually, but then you also everybody needs a support system. Absolutely. But we're all different. I think this is a challenge, is if I'm going through this, I might need something different from my support system than you do. Right. In your situation, what did you need from your support system? And how did they show up for you?
Oh man, support. my support system showed up in ways that I couldn't even imagine. And I mean that in every sense.
Yeah.
From sending money.
Yeah.
So that we could have meals.
Yeah.
Week to week. From coming in, watching my girls. Shout out to Cassandra Shields, Galbraith. Watching our girls while my wife and my dad took me to chemotherapy treatment.
Yeah.
On a regular basis, and being zapped, because it's not just treatment on that day, right?
Okay.
It is the lead up to treatment, which you have to build your body up towards. And anybody who's gone through cancer or any type of immune treatment disease knows what I'm talking about. It's the walking, the eating right, the hydration, the working out, the build up to the trauma and the onslaught that you're about to subject your body to.
Oh, gotcha.
And then after you get the treatment, right, it's what they do is, at least from me, with my cancer diagnosis, they sent me home with this chemo pouch. Like, it's like a little, literally like a fanny pack type pouch, right? And they send you that home, and it goes on a slow drip through your port, where you're okay for the next few days. But once you take that port out, and my wife was doing that too, so she became a doctor, a nurse, a caregiver, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So taking out that port, then you're zapped and out of energy, and just want to lay down and do nothing for the next 3 to 5 days until you start feeling like yourself again.
Right.
But you're just gearing up for the next onslaught. And so that team is so critical. Like, having people, even if they can't come because they really can't be around you like that.
Yeah.
And we purposely didn't, and we had loved ones that were like, we'll show up and come and help out any way possible, come clean, do whatever the case is. While we appreciated that, I couldn't be exposed to other people because I now have this autoimmune disease that I could be susceptible to other sickness and illness. Yeah. So it's also, as much as you want people to come in, you got to isolate.
Wow.
So that's a very lonely feeling. It's isolation for me.
Yeah.
It's isolation for my children. It's isolation from my wife, where we couldn't do. Like,
how does depression not set in, or did it?
Oh man, I was never really depressed. That's a great question, Adam.
Yeah.
I was never really depressed. I was hurt. I was challenged. I was pissed.
Yeah.
Even though I had the reassurance of what God told me, right? Dignity and long suffering. It's only human to ask why.
Well, yeah, why me?
Why me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When there's all kind of shady or dirty people doing all this other kind of stuff that deserve something like this.
Right.
Right. But I also had to flip. It's important that I was already a person that journaled a lot.
Yeah.
Read a lot, prayed a lot. But this just accentuated that.
Yeah.
To another level, where I was able to pour my heart out from a journal perspective, but also seek guidance and therapy. Like, so helping surround myself with positive people.
Yeah.
Even if they couldn't physically be there. I got a brother right now who's in Arizona, right? An older homie who just called, and we talked sports while I was in the hospital. Talked UFC, right? Didn't even talk about my cancer diagnosis. We shot the breeze and talked anything other than my diagnosis.
Yeah.
That helped me get through.
And
I told him that not too long ago too.
Yeah.
Shout out to Art. But really, there's other people who were able to come to the hospital and see about me. My cousin and one of my other good friends. You know what I mean? And it is something that even other loved ones who continuously check on me, and we check on each other. Like, it's important to reach out. It's important to have that team that you build that connection with. Like I mentioned, I'm an only child, so I don't have brothers and sisters.
Right.
So my friends are really like my brothers and sisters.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And if I say you're my friend, then you are that. And I do love you.
B, I hope you recognize like how dope your brand is then.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Because those people wanted, they made an effort. They're like, hey, Brandon's going through this. I want to be able to be there for him. Like, that speaks to kind of like parallels the book, where it's like you've built value in your brand, where people they see your value, they want to be a part of what you're doing. That's and it's like, hey, I want to show up for my guy right now.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I love how I love that happened for you.
Yeah.
Especially going through that.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where that's why I was like, man, I'm reading this through this book, and I see how he's relating the corporate world, but a lot of these are transferable to your personal life as well.
Right.
I do have a question, like as somebody that had been through this, because like health is such an important talking point right now. And we live in a country where a lot of people are obese, and they talk about how the food is poison. Like, how do you think someone that's never had a cancer diagnosis, like should they be going and getting these checkups to where it's not missed?
Yeah.
Because yours was kind of missed.
Yeah.
And so
and it was missed from the extent that I was doing my part.
Were you doing regular physicals every year?
Yeah.
That's scary to me, dude. Yeah, that's like, that's scary to me. Yeah.
And it was, the type of cancer that I had, I'm 1 in 10,000 men at my age. Yeah. Right. And I was at 41 where I was diagnosed.
Gotcha.
And so getting regular checkups or going through physicals, men, let me speak to the camera. It's okay to get a colonoscopy. Okay. Yes, they're going to go up there, but you're not even going to know it. Okay.
No Diddy.
No Diddy. Right. All right. No Diddy. None of that. You're not even going to know it. I promise you. They're going to put you out. You're going to be completely asleep. I was talking to another brother, another friend of mine a few weeks ago, and he's like, "Yeah, I know they schedule." I was like, "Go ahead and schedule it, bro. It's not going to bother you. You'll be completely fine." But don't, especially black men, don't be in fear of or too macho or too arrogant. Yeah, if I could say. Yeah, like I don't need that. I'll just go to the gym. Right. You know what I mean? To not go get yourself checked out because we need you. We need you, Adam. You know what I mean? We need you. Brandon, we need whatever your name is. Put your name there. We need you. Yeah. And it's vitally important that we still do everything in our power to take care of our temples as much as we can. And so, not only is it critical that you get, your regular checkups, but you got to go specifically if you feel like there is something wrong with you, then go to the places that specialize in your issue.
Gotcha.
That's critical.
So it's like if I'm having a knee problem, I'm gonna go to ortho.
Right.
But if I'm having a gut problem, you should
go to USC CAC.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm being flat out. If your insurance allows it, go to USC CAC.
Oh, okay.
Go to places where they do the active research in your potential issue. It doesn't mean it may be a cancer diagnosis. That's not, it may not be that severe.
Right. It could be some other gastrointestinal.
It could be something else. But go seek wisdom. Go seek guidance. Yeah. Go seek help. And that's something that we should not be shying away from that. We're too old.
Okay. I'm gonna ask a question from the support team side. If I have a family member or friend that's been diagnosed, what do you think is the best way to show up
support?
How to support that person?
Wow, that's a great question. I had friends and loved ones that just showed up at the hospital. I didn't have to. I told them, I sent a text, and once we knew what it was, and once we knew it was severe, I sent texts out to all the people that I could, kind of funnel things through my wife. But I had friends that literally just showed up and surprised me.
Gotcha.
Like, we're coming up.
Yeah.
We're going to come see you on that day, or if and maybe that, and it's different for everybody. So I don't want to judge anyone and say, because you didn't show up, you're not crap. Right. Yeah. You failed me in that area. No, your prayers, you reaching out to my wife, you, sending, a love offering, or more importantly, just sending someone a text and letting them know, hey, I'm praying for you. I'm thinking about you. I had tons of that.
Yeah.
Or if you have resources, even post diagnosis, I've Phaedra, right? She put me on, and I need to follow up with her actually, but she put me on a specific nutritionalist that what they do is they get your blood type and can devise a meal plan to help you, maintain and or lose weight.
Gotcha.
But get you on a plan from a nutrition standpoint that will help your body sustain long term.
Yeah.
Right. And I wasn't thinking about that.
Yeah.
It's resources. I mean, we see stuff all the time on social media and the internet, but to know that people think as much about you to just reach out
yeah,
and touch base, and more importantly, come alongside and assist my loved ones. That's invaluable.
Gotcha.
Like, I had other boys that help. I wasn't able to move furniture
right
in my house, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't physically able to do it, but they came and shout out to Brian and Trayvon. They came and moved some furniture at my house.
Nice.
Right. Well, my wife was by herself with the kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the kind of stuff. Just show up for your people.
Just show up.
Yeah.
They'll tell you what they need from you.
They'll tell you what they need. And if they don't need anything, they don't need anything.
Right. But at least you're there.
At least you're there. Yeah.
Now having gone through this,
mm-hmm.
what has been your biggest life lessons from this?
God is real. He's real, without a doubt.
Okay.
Without a shadow of a doubt. He's real. And he is, my relationship with him is stronger than it has ever been.
Okay.
Family and loved ones are so critical to your longevity and sustaining power. And I even had a loved one that unfortunately passed away from his cancer diagnosis, Chucky Owens. But even when we were going through it, kind of simultaneously, he was going through his, and I was going through mine. It's important, like we just talked about, it was important to show up for people. Yeah. It's important to be present and just to check in with your loved ones.
Yeah.
Whether it be a text or a call or scheduling time, schedule the time.
Yeah.
You know, make the time, because tomorrow's not promised.
Yeah.
And I would say last would probably be my children, like leaving a legacy.
Yeah.
I'd already put some things into place, you know, insurance wise.
Yeah.
Life insurance, specifically whole life and IULs, as well as some term life insurance. But I look back on that now, and when I did it when I was completely healthy.
Yeah.
No health issues. And prior to this diagnosis, I had nothing go on with me, other than being too heavy, right?
Yeah.
But
that's everybody's struggle.
That's my struggle now. Like, I went from one extreme to the other. But my doc said, you know, that'll go away with time, right?
Yeah.
And work. But that's also a critical piece, a life lesson. Don't wait to put things into place from a legacy perspective. Don't leave your family holding or without a bag. If I could put it in today's terms.
Yeah.
Right? We talk about getting to the bag and all this kind of stuff with young people. No, make sure your family has a bag.
Yeah.
Like, when I go, they're gonna be completely fine. They'll miss me physically.
Right.
Right. And me not being here, but what they will have in terms of stability and financial independence, it's there. It's in place.
Yeah.
And that's something my wife and I purpose ourselves to have in place long before this happened. Yeah. So even a will and a trust.
Yeah.
Along with, coupled with insurance independent of a job, but also insurance through a job.
Yeah.
All those things are critical. So take care of your affairs now.
I like that.
You know what I mean?
Man, I mean, those are things that we need to hear. I think when me and Sister C set out to have this podcast, part of it was like, we're going to have a conversation that is entertaining and has some value, but we also conversation that we need,
right?
You know? So man, I appreciate, one, I appreciate you coming, and then two, I appreciate you really being open about that, because I feel like it's such a tough conversation to have.
Yep.
And for somebody that hasn't gone through that, like, how do you broach that conversation with people that have had a trauma experience, right? It's like people that has experienced any trauma, you don't want to open up these wounds, right? Unless they're comfortable sharing. But it's valuable for us to hear that.
Yeah.
Especially the colonoscopy. Yeah. Now that I got my physical next month, I got to have that conversation with my doctor, man.
Go ahead and get it. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna follow up and say, "Hey, did you get the colonoscopy?"
Yeah, I got my physical in October.
I'm gonna follow up, bro.
Man, I appreciate it, man. I think I'm gonna do it. I don't want to, but I think I'm gonna have to do it, man.
You will do it. It's not an if or how. I'm telling you, it's nothing. The worst part of it is drinking the solution to get you cleansed out.
Get you cleaned out.
Right.
Oh, gotcha.
Right. That's gonna take a minute, but
man, love the book.
Thank you.
Again, I love how it's one of these things you keep coming back to. Just keep it on your person.
Absolutely.
And lastly, or in closing, there's something that you said in the book. Generational wealth is important, but what is more important is that people remember how you treated them.
Yep.
Expound on that before we go.
Yeah, my dad, and I got that specific from James Howard Shelby. He always talks about me growing up. Talked about specifically, you have a start date and an end date, and you got that dash right in between.
Yeah.
What did you do between that dash?
Yeah.
Like, what are people going to say about you?
Yeah.
In that dash, because the reality is you get summarized your entire life, however long that is, in a 4 or 5 page obituary.
Yeah.
Right. But what are people going to? How are people going to speak about you, even now?
Yeah.
Right. Not before you leave. Not to make it morbid, but how does people speak well of you? Like
right now.
Right now.
Right now.
If you get brought up in conversation, how are they talking about you?
Dang, yeah.
Are they speaking well of you?
Yeah.
Or are they shying away from? I don't really mess with that person.
And again, that's in the workplace and outside in your personal life. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's imperative. Like what we do. I mean, we got police officers that do a great job. You got firemen. You have judges, doctors, all that kind of stuff who have titles, right? And have sworn oaths to do their specific jobs and positions. But even outside of their work, they're still that.
Yeah.
We need to start thinking of ourselves in the corporate space. You're more than just your title.
Yeah.
Like you are the individual that's put into this title.
Yeah.
And are doing this job in specific work. But what people will say about you and how they interact with you speaks more volumes than the work you'll ever do.
Yeah.
In a workplace setting.
Oh man, yeah.
So if I can impart anything there is, do your work to the best of your ability and do it not for others, but to help others.
Oh, I like that.
You know what I mean?
Where can the people find the book? Yeah.
They can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere where books are sold in the active market. It's fully distributed and available right now.
And are you doing any coaching right now? Is somebody
I am doing some coaching.
Okay.
I am doing some coaching outside of, my 9 to 5 scope, whether it be interview prep or coaching, just career coaching in general.
Yeah.
Anybody that's looking to tap in with me, I'll provide you with those resources on how they can do so. And
where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram. It's corporate free agency, I think _24.
Okay.
Where you can find me there. You can also find me on YouTube. It's Brandon Shelby Speaks 24.
Nice.
Find me there. So tap in, subscribe, look me up, and we'll
and now that you've been inside the beautiful District 23 studio, we got to have an audiobook coming.
Oh, please.
The audiobook needs to be the next
audiobook,
step. We can get you recorded. We get you recorded in here.
Listen.
Man, family.
Yeah.
Love that you're healthy right now.
Thank you, man.
Man, excited to hear that part. Love what you're doing with the book, man. And I just wish you nothing but the best, you and the fam.
Likewise, man.
Like we said, like you mentioned, it's like 3 months left in this quarter. So hopefully you finish the year strong and then we go rolling into 2025.
Likewise, brother.
Man, you guys look us up on all the streaming platforms. You could find us. You guys tune in, subscribe, like, share. Yeah. Man, much needed conversation, man. I appreciate you, family.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Love you, brother.
All right, my guy.
Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.